days if they put the time into it and they have the know-how of all the software, and they're able to do it. Like some of them were student films, but I would swear to you that was from a studio.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
I mean, like I
uh,
applied to CalArts and like I just remember looking at their grad program and like all of the student films that they put on there,
yeah,
like, oh my gosh. I thought some of those were made by professors. Like
yeah,
so good.
yeah. Well, and then so on this note,
Yeah.
today with all the AI stuff, strikes,
Yep.
evil producers, evil studio heads, and then this amazing announcement of the Procreate Dream app
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
last week or this week? Was
It's
that
a few
even?
days ago, I think.
Oh, what is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Procreate Dream app?
Um, I think, and I'm not the first person to say this, but I do think we're going to start seeing independent filmmaking, I think in live action and in animation, really bloom. And I mean, it's always been there, but I think it's really going to take off because the software, the tools are just going to keep getting better. That Procreate Dream, if it's everything we're all dreaming that it's
I
going to
would say
be,
it's
it's
kind of like an
going to be a game
all-in-one. It has
changer.
everything you need
Yeah, yeah. It's like
for
holy
animation
crap.
pipelines.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can edit your music and sound effects all right alongside your animation, and you can import live action footage and draw frame by frame
Yeah.
on your live.
wow.
Like,
It's gonna make life
I mean,
easier. Yeah.
Sounds fun.
it's the possibilities. It's really opening lots of doors. Um, and so I really do think that the independent route is, independent filmmaking is really going to take off, because people just don't want to deal with, you know the uncertainty of these big studios. And as I'm sure you know, like for example, a lot of the SAG actors can still work if they're working for independent
Yeah.
studios that aren't part of the AMPTP. So again,
Yeah.
that's gonna make people create studios that are independent to draw talent that don't want to deal with this other thing. So I think it's just going to continue to build, and I think that's pretty exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, no, the future is, I mean, some things are interesting, but I think the future is looking very hopefully bright. We'll
I
see.
think
Like I
so.
said, I wonder what's gonna happen to all these bigger studios. I mean, we'll see if a deal comes in. I eventually maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
And I'll be interested just to, I don't know, 10 years from now to look back on this time, particularly this year with all the AI, you know, surge that's been happening. And I don't know, I'll be interested in see in 10 years what happens with that. And we all look back on what it was now, and what we're going to think of it.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to get worse? Is it going to get better? Are people going to figure out how to use it in a healthy way? Or is it going to really change things in a negative way? I mean, but there will always be positive change that comes out of things like that, those kind of disruptions. But it's a disruption for sure. Um, because once upon a time people were afraid of this thing called the light bulb, and they thought that was the end of civilization, and it was evil. And now we think about the light bulb as the most benign thing. We
Yeah.
don't even think about it. We take it for granted, but it's one of the most useful things we have in our lives. Is AI going to be like that? Are we going to look back someday and go, what were we so afraid of with AI? It just took some time to iron it out. Or is it going to be, oh crap, that was the beginning of the end?
Oh,
I don't know, but it'll be
Hopefully
interesting.
the first. Hopefully the first. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like iRobot.
Guy Robot.
yeah, yeah. It is like a science fiction film.
Yeah. Well, I know we're running out of time soon. To ask you two last questions.
Cool.
So I guess before we sign things off, I guess through your whole career, what would you say are some of the people I guess you've admired the most throughout either Disney or various studios? And then what would be your piece of advice to the future artists and animators that are gonna be coming really soon?
Yeah. Well, being such a Disney fan, and knowing a bit about Disney history growing up and reading lots of books about it, uh, and then getting into the industry during the Disney Renaissance with the Little Mermaids and the Lion Kings and all that, to be able to work alongside people like John Musker and Ron Clements, Roger Allers, who directed Lion King,
Yeah.
um, Mark Dindal, who I worked with on Emperor's New Groove. and currently I worked with him some on the Garfield movie that he's directing. That's coming out next year. Dale Bear, Eric Goldberg, Mark Henn, Andreas Deja, to be able to, work alongside these people. These were the people that I admired when I was going to school, when I was first starting in the industry. They were the ones that were creating all the stuff that I loved. And it's been a really real honor to get to call them friends and colleagues. There's so many more as well. The one that I will mention, just single out a little bit, is a man named Bernie Mattinson, who he passed away in February. But Bernie, I don't know if you're familiar with Bernie, but
actually, I heard about that earlier this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bernie, when was it, in June? June would have been Bernie's 70th year as a Disney employee.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
He was the longest. Now, even before he passed away, he was the longest running Disney employee in history. He hit that at 65 years, when I was still at the studio. So then at 65 years, he became the longest running, but he would have been 70 years this year in June had he not passed away in February. He started in 1953.
Wow.
He was a runner at the Disney Studios, so he'd like delivered mail all around, and he would go to Walt's office and pick up a check that Walt would write every Friday for his weekend spending money, get it cashed, and take the cash back and hand it to Walt Disney a lot of the times. So
Wow.
Bernie was one of the very few people that were left that had any interaction with Walt, that was at the studio while Walt was there. He did everything at Disney. He was an in-betweener, an animator, a story artist, a director, a producer. Two of my favorite Disney films, Mickey's Christmas Carol and Great Mouse Detective, were both produced and directed by Bernie. And he was really instrumental in kind of shaping, like Ron Clements and John Musker. They co-directed with Bernie on Great Mouse Detective, and then their next movie was Little Mermaid after Great Mouse Detective. So Bernie really was. I mean, Bernie was there from Walt's time all the way up till just a few months ago. I mean, the continuity he has with the studio is amazing. An idol of mine, loved the man, got to know him. He worked with us on Winnie the Pooh. It was a complete pleasure to get to turn and look to my right and go, oh my God, Bernie Mattinson is sitting at the table here with us brainstorming on a movie that we're making. This is like pinch me, I'm dreaming kind of thing. So Bernie was really, everybody has been very special. Bernie was extremely special. So really lucky to have gotten to work with him. And then I think my advice, which I usually give pretty consistently to everybody, is if you want to be in animation, get comfortable with collaboration. If you want to be an independent, and we talked about independent filmmaking, if you want to just make a film in your living room and just do your own thing, that's fantastic. Do that. If you don't want to collaborate, there is a world for you, and that's great. If you want to get into the industry, if you want to work at studios, if you want to, work at Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks or Sony or Nickelodeon or whoever, none of these things are made by one person or even two people. They're made by armies of people. And it's really important to get used to showing your work, receiving feedback, back to what we were talking about way at the beginning of the talk, like I planned it. No, I didn't really. But getting used to showing your work, getting feedback, giving feedback in a really constructive, positive way, because you're going to be asked to give feedback to your colleagues.
Yep.
Knowing how to sit in a room and do the whole yes and thing and build with other people and not just shoot other people's ideas down because you don't agree with them. How can you collaborate with other people? I find that to be the most important thing, because as artists, we all are we all start just by ourselves drawing in our own little space. And so sometimes some people, it's harder to make that transition into a studio environment than others. And if you want to make that transition, I think that's the key thing, is to get comfortable with collaboration. It's it doesn't dilute your work. It actually makes your work better,
Oh yeah.
and it makes everybody shine. So it's worth getting comfortable with.
Okay, well, awesome. Yeah, thank you for that advice. It's very, very helpful.
Yeah.
And thank you again for joining us on the podcast. We appreciate it so much. Hope you had a great
Oh,
time.
it was great to be here. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Angelina. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, awesome. Well, glad you had a good time. Thank you so much, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Sounds good. You too. Take care.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks.